So, while making up some plans for how I was going to build the massive aquaponics system in tilapia tank, I decided I've never actually tried to do aquaponics before, even on a small scale. So, went ahead and decided to build a smaller scale version so that if something went wrong, I'd be able to deal with it on a much smaller scale rather than, my whole backyard flooding and everything dying. And basically, this would just allow me to get a feel for how the whole system worked, how to balance the pumps, and balance the two different ecosystems that were working together. I still had the 40-gallon that I'd borrowed a while ago, as well as a nice bucket that I'd used as the grow bed. These would be set up on my patio where my dog would be able to scare away any predators trying to attack the fish, and the plants could grow up onto the fence using it as a trellis. I found a bunch of spare fish tank pumps in the garage, as well as some filters and a bunch of other useful stuff. So I knew I could find probably anything I'd ever need in my garage, because that place is just filled up with endless junk, and we already found 3 working pumps and all this goodies. But I actually just found a whole pump for a pool pond, like a decent sized, very large pool pond that you could probably fit sharks in, no joke. And it's definitely not strong enough for what it was designed, for what it was marketed to do, but it's gonna be very strong and easily strong enough to pump water out of here, circulate it through here. So the problem is we don't have any piping, so I'm gonna have to go to Home Depot today, buy that. But basically, yeah, it just pumps things through here. It's got a filter, we're not really worried about that. And the end's right here, the out's right here, I think. So we're just gonna pipe them out in here, take it into there, and we'll have something to pump it right back out. So I just got back from Home Depot with a lot of stuff. We got 5 bags of rocks, scoria in here, which is going to fill up the growing bed right there, and a bunch of PVC pipes, some sealant, and a bunch of other things that we'll show you later. But yeah, we're about to start building our first miniature aquaponics garden. First I cut the tube, and then I had to heat it with the flame so that it'd be large enough to fit around the inlet valve. Next I used a 1-inch pipe sealer to make sure that the seal was secure and watertight. Then, of course, I did the same to the other side, which was quite a bit trickier. Once that was set, I could move on to drilling a hole in the bottom of the grow bed. Okay. Once the hole was made, I needed to cut a piece of mesh off to use as a filter to cover the drain pipe. After this was done, I moved on to trying to get the pool pond pump to work, which was pretty tricky. So it took a while, and I'm not going to pretend there weren't any issues. To get this pool pond pump running, we had to do a bunch of stuff. There was a bunch of issues with it. But basically, gravity takes the water down into here and uses the force of the weight of the water, and the pump just pumps the water right back into there. We also have another pump right here, since I can't cut into this glass, which is a bit unfortunate. But we just have another pump I found in the garage that's running water, and we're gonna poke some holes in here so that it will spill out into here. Anyways, what I'm doing right now is we've got the seal on, and I just need to use some silicone to make sure that this thing is watertight. So while I was working on this, I realized that the silicone I had bought was apparently not waterproof. So I decided to try and use waterfall spray, the messiest thing known to man, and you'll see what happened in a few seconds. Oh gosh. Okay, so yeah, I had to use waterfall spray. What the? Alright, so here's the mess caused by the waterfall spray. Not sure how long this thing takes to dry, but basically here's what my hands look like, and this is after a lot of washing and sandpaper and just sanding down my fingers. And yeah, I can barely even use the phone, but hoping it's waterproof. If not, that really sucks, because this is a pain, but I'm guessing we're probably gonna face some issue for every step of this project, but that's kind of why we're doing it on such a small scale before we do it on a large scale. And speaking of large scale, the pond liner has just arrived, and this thing is, well, it's very large. Let's take a look. Oh, interesting. So that's how they pack stuff. We'll get to that later, but meanwhile, I gotta fill up the rocks after this dries, and we'll start washing them down. Just realized I'm gonna want to block this drain so that the rocks don't pile up and, you know, cause it to break and start filtering water. So these cylinders will, they'll go inside the rocks and they'll protect the plants when they're young so that they don't just get crushed by rocks. Okay, this is getting pretty cool. That could still be bad, but the thing is, even if it didn't seal correctly, we can just remove all that foam, seal it with something else, maybe use some super glue or epoxy or something. I've got plenty of other options. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to run the pump and wash all this rock dust out. There's tons of dirt and stuff in there, and the water is crystal clear right now, and we want it to stay as clean as it can for a while. So we're just going to keep running water through there until it you know, cleans up. Alright, the water is almost clean, not quite yet, still a little bit of murk in there, but yeah, this is really cool. This was much harder than I thought to set up, and there's still some issues. We got a leak down here, and I patched it up using so much foam. I mean, there are a lot of holes in here, but it expands, so I'm hoping that it won't. You know what, let me grab some more. It expands, so yeah, I don't know. Oh my gosh, this is like it's gross. Okay, you didn't even see that. Anyways, I'm hoping there won't be a leak, but I'm guessing there's still water flowing from this area. So if there is a leak, I think it's probably gonna be small, but it might be a little bit of a problem over time if we don't fix it up. But you know, the hole there cannot be too big because it's a very, very tight fit, and we just put all that foam. So it looks like the water is almost finishing up draining. So we're gonna set this second pump up and get things moving. Alright, so the system is running. Super cool. Basically, the water comes out of the fish tank through this pump, and all that water goes into our grow bed right here. The water comes up to about that level down there, where you can see just touching the plant's roots. Gravity pulls it out through here, and it's taken back into that pump and comes back out into the tank here, creating oxygen for the fish and new water. So it is not balanced at all, not even balanced with the pumps, which is just making sure that one tank doesn't overflow. I need to make sure that the strength of this pump is equal to the strength of this pump, and that's going to be quite a bit of work to try and figure out, but I think we're pretty close. Anyways, I expected that I thought I would have had enough time to go out and go fishing and catch a bunch of fish to stock this thing up with, but no, we didn't, because there was a lot of problems and there's still a huge mess to clean up. So gonna do that right now, and we'll go fishing tomorrow morning. So I've got this net that I made right here using some of the mesh and a PVC pipe, and we're gonna try and get some shrimp out of this lake here that we'll use to catch the bluegills. So I found a patch of shrimp. I'm not sure if you can see them hopping around in there, but that's what we'll use for bait. Here's our fish. So there's a lot of junk in this water because I tried to make a little separator for our tilapias. That kind of didn't work out well, but we got a nice lid on this thing, and we're gonna try and put in our fish. So our fish are in, and they look okay right now. I really hope they'll survive. I think they will. I gave them a little thing to hide under. They live in grass, so it's a big change for them to go to this, so I'm going to try and get some stuff in there. Alright guys, so I'm going to check this out tomorrow, but yeah, this is it. This is our aquaponics system, and if these fish survive, as long as they're okay, it's done. It is a completed aquaponics system. We've got that little lake issue right there, and I'm sure there'll be plenty more issues to tackle and some upgrades to make over the next few weeks, but pretty much this is an aquaponics system. As long as the fish and plants are balanced and the pumps keep circulating, this thing should be pretty good. The water will take all the fish waste out into here, keep the tank clean, and it's doing a really good job keeping the tank clean. It was super messy last time we saw it, and now it's as clear as when we got it. It's actually really impressive. Check this out. This is our gigantic pond liner, and the deal is it's not super thick. A lot of weird stretch marks and scratches going on here. That's not a great sign, but it was cheap. It was like 60 bucks, and it almost covers everything we need. I'm not going to unfold it right now. So the problem here is once you buy a giant one, the lining size gets a bit thinner, but the deal is, like, once you're making a pond this big, I mean, it's almost big enough to just go inside of a hole. But we're going to heavily underlay this, and we're going to patch it up with the other pond liner, the better one, and hopefully it will be strong enough not to just break. Some people I've seen just use a tarp. This is definitely not as thick as a tarp, but it's actually made for a pond, so hopefully it'll work.